Yahoo Prof here, and check out the previous video if you want to see my new, what they call it nowadays, drip, or fit. Names change as time goes on. This is the WAN Show V3 hoodie, and I am preparing this next box for your consumption. Did I use right turn there? Hey, you're still going. Don't bleed and throw up on that ride. Whew. It was a rough one, wasn't it? I know at least one of you is like, bleh, bleh. Who knows what it is just based on that, huh? Get my Pocari sweat in. You'd get someone else to drink almost out. I think I put that in the description as a link for you guys to subscribe and save on Amazon. You can get it at Costco now, apparently. Well, I put the letter opener away. Shing! This came relatively quickly, actually. When did Happy Hacking Keyboard release the Dandelion keycaps? February 25th. Jeez. I knew it had been a hot minute. Up until that point, Happy Hacking Keyboard had been pretty seasonal with their keycap releases. Not that I need to buy more keycaps, I'm just saying. And at one point, they were coming quick enough for me to, like, by the time I got them on, I felt like I'd use them for like a month or two and there'd be another set out. So, prior to the Dandelion was the Wasabi set. Dandelion was yellow, Wasabi is green. And before that was the original Cherry Blossom Pink with pink lettering to differentiate it from the OG. Happy Hacking Keyboard Pro stamped full top Wisteria. What color is Wisteria? Do any of you know? Maybe we'll get the... yeah, this guy's gonna need a clean. These keycaps should really get clean before they get put away too. Jeez. Here's my Dandelion set. You're like, well, why is this one in the closet? I thought the snow was your go-to. Well, you see, I built this guy. My Agar EC with EC switches. And this thing's a beaut. She's a beaut. It is getting kind of annoying though to have to keep moving that cable from here to my laptop. Normally I would just use this one for the Happy Hacking keyboard. And then also this little mat for it does impede, like normally I would have this here to hold it down. But then when I'm gaming, that's uneven, so I kind of have to like scoop it up and go like that. And sometimes if I scoot forward too far, it hits my joystick. Why the mat, you might be asking? Why the mat? I actually didn't know why originally, but then I found out, if you look at that height right there, once you had the mat in, this becomes the exact same height as the OG Happy Hacking keyboard. So that's, and it actually does dampen noise quite. Oh, this is just a great sounding board here. Oh, I gripped that mouse weird. But at work, I use a Type S. I've made a video on the Saga about how it's having issues. It was having issues with the escape key, function key, and Windows key. Windows key sticking. I think ended up resolving itself, but yeah, this whole keyboard needs to be wiped down. There's like little coffee, I think that's little coffee stains, and it's on like a keycap there. It was on one of the ones up here too, down there in the F5. But I always put, this is my Snow Type S. This is not a Japanese Snow. You can tell that by the fact that we still have labeling. So this is actually a Snow Gen 2. I think it was almost a year later that it came to the US and released with the labeling. But the original Snow from Japan was no labeling on the top. And of course, you could get this one without the labeling on the keys. I didn't. Not that I necessarily need them, but I don't hate people who also use my computer. Also, sometimes when you're less alert, you do need to look up, like, especially special characters, maybe punctuation and stuff like that. But, you know, normal typing wise, nah. That's actually what got me to touch type, for those wondering. I used to I was a 2-finger, maybe 3-finger. I can't even think about it now because I don't do that anymore. I want to say 2 to 3 finger, and I even did spacebar with pointer finger. Still sometimes do that. Not to say that's necessarily bad, because sometimes it is actually quicker depending on where your hand is to do that. But I was like, you know, and I was actually quite decently fast with that. But I would always, and I wouldn't like look at the keys, but I would like peer down. I wouldn't necessarily need to know what the letters were, but I would use my eyes to tell where my fingers were, if that makes sense. What finally got me off that was the Happy Hacking keyboard. Not this one. It was my original Pro 2. Dark gray with black on dark gray legends. It did have legends if I needed them, but holy hell, did you have to like look at the right angle in the right lighting to see them, right? So it kind of forced me to get better. And that truly is my recommendation. Like a lot of people say, put something over it so you can't see it. I remember when I was a kid, that's what they used to do, because they didn't want to like have different keycaps or different keyboards or whatever. You know, when I was in elementary school, they taught typing because they thought that would be a useful thing, and it is. And now they don't even have computer labs anymore. So the other thing that in combination with that taught me, also I went to, on my main keyboard at the time, my SteelSeries 7G, when I got the keycaps replaced, the only keycaps I could get that fit it were actually engraved keycaps. You know, like, what is it? Meaning there's no infill. So it was engraved into them, like, you know, with there was a mark that was an F, but there was no color difference because it was just engraved into the plastic, right? So that kind of forced me to get better at touch typing. And then, like anything, what gets you better? Practice. That's why I back then it was me, forums, and IRC. The amount of typing I did in those caused me to, you know, the swapping keyboard, right? And then the just amount of typing I did. Like, there's a lot of stuff that I did back in the early days of, I say early days of keyboarding. I felt like it was not early days at the time, like because we were on the cutting edge back then. Nowadays, yeah, this would be like a lot of the stuff people take for granted now didn't fucking exist back then. You know, like you didn't just buy switches. That was nearly an impossibility without a group buy, or at very great cost to you. Like you could probably like singular switches from places, or like maybe a 10-pack or something. Maybe. Usually you would get switches by getting a keyboard. And stuff like that. So, you know, and I saw the Happy Hacking keyboard with its red escape and its lavender enter in that black on dark gray configuration, and I forget how long. I probably lurked on Keycap for 2 years. Felt like 2 years before I started posting. That was all because I wore through the keycaps on my original Series 7G. Those keycaps were known to be shit. And I'm like, I was told by SteelSeries when buying this that like one of the benefits was these removable keycaps that you could replace. SteelSeries, however, didn't sell replacements. And it's like, okay, well, where can I fucking get them? Then come to find out that the SteelSeries one is like quite proprietary in actuality, like the keycaps on the keyboard, at least for the time. Still quite proprietary for this time, actually. There's a couple things like the big L enter. That's not a standard, minus some very specific countries from my understanding. Like, and what I mean by that, guys, is if we zoom 5 into here, L enter would be return, and this delete key, which would normally be backslash, right? That's one key on there. And then delete, backspace was here and backslash was there on that keyboard. And you're like, oh, you mean ISO enter because you'd have another key here and then the enter would be here and then go over to there. No, I don't mean that. Oh, here. So an ISO enter would be this key would there be another key here, and then this enter would be like a vertical enter. No. The SteelSeries 7G had like this big L enter. That was a thing. And then the stabilizer spots for the spacebar were just like literally nobody at the time supported that configuration. So I actually had to cut some off a keycap and epoxy them on. But yeah, getting back to this Happy Hacking keyboard, I tend to, because back in the day I did have the pink, the cherry blossom pink, and the whatever green color it was, and I ended up selling those once used for a year or more. I think probably more than that, for more than I bought them for. Because basically, Real Force, they weren't even for the Happy Hacking keyboards. They would fit though, minus this shift key and this function. You'd steal this shift from, is it like another control key, I think? Because we get control or caps, I believe, over here, right? And you'd put the other one over here. And then this function, you could steal one from a different, like an arrow key. You know, because it would be like for a 10 keyless board, right? You'd have an arrow key over here. You can steal one of those for that or something, like the up arrow. So they weren't actually meant for Happy Hacking keyboards, though a lot of people use them for it. And I sold them. And I wish ever since I didn't. And that's why when Happy Hacking keyboard, not Real Force, released the Cherry Blossom Pink, which was the set, like the green one, yeah, kind of, it looked good with dark gray. Same thing with that number pad. I sold that for a song, because they stopped making them. But the Real Force number pad, yeah, so when the pink came out, I'm like, I'm picking it up, and these are actually reasonable. I want to say they're $60. I mean, like, the old Real Force sets were well over 100. Let's look up Happy Hacking here. Dismiss. Most recent BIA store. Keyboards. $66.99 before tax. Like I said, $60. Cherry Blossom Pink. Back in Elite Keyboards. Oh, I can't even find my emails from. It's because it's one word. There you go. Pink printed real force keycaps were $110 in 2012. So you guys do the math there. And I would have been using my happy hacking keyboard for 4 or so years at that point. So basically, if I recall correctly, my pink set was on my happy hacking keyboard and my green set was on my real force. And I had a separate number pad that I ran. And I only went real force once they had the real force in the past was actually known for having 30 gram on the outside and 55 gram on the middle. Well, the happy hacking keyboard is 45 gram. And what I mean by this is like basically because your pinkies are weaker and you're stretching, they would make these keys lighter to press and these ones, because you're right over them, heavier. Like it would be a gradient. Then they did 55 gram standard. I still didn't bite. And then once it was 45 gram, which is what the happy hacking keyboard was, that's when I bit. And you could eventually do the same for the number pad. Or the number pad was that way. I forget. Either way, now you can do EC switches, and you can put your own springs in the EC switches. You can put linear springs in the EC switches instead of tactile springs. You're crazy, man, if you ask me if you do that. But I did buy a set because I didn't know how big of a thing that this was going to become, if I ever wanted to do it, yada, yada, yada. I think the springs were $10 or something. So it's nothing horrendous, you know, like... yeah, so $110 back in 2012 for the pink. I'm guessing the green were the same. They came on batches. They were also yellow like this at one point. I have a random yellow key of some kind. Like a shift, maybe? I don't know. Later on when they stopped doing full key sets, or maybe even leading up to it a little bit, because they like I said, they had the red and they had the lavender. They spruced in there with, at least with Elite keyboards. I don't know if that came out of Japan or where, these like random colored ones, but you could basically get most of the modifiers and single keys in like an assortment of 6 or 8 colors, right? And I do have some random ones. I don't even think I bought them. I want to say they came with a keyboard at one point, or because like there would be like, well, nobody ended up buying like this color yellow, that they didn't call it dandelion back then. You know, we gotta get rid of them somehow, so we'll just toss them in with other stuff. I did buy some random keycaps that I still have not been able to sell though, because you know, like the real forces were known for the lavender keycaps, right? So then Philco, who was like the #1 enthusiast Tramax brand, they made lavender arrow keys and stuff like that. You know, like they wanted to copy, and they always looked cheaper because they're just like OBM, ABS, thin wall. You know, it wasn't the same vibe. They were trying to copy it though. Like, oh, so you can look like you're using the thing that everybody wants to use. Okay, we got our meet the next generation of happy hacking keyboards. There's the hybrid Type S. Originally this color down here, the beige, that was only available in Type S originally. Like as in, like, if you wanted a Type S, this one was the black on dark gray, or available in the beige, and then the Type S was originally only available in this beige. Like, we're going back to like the Pro 2 era, right? So then people would do shell swaps and all sorts of jazz. I never personally cared for the Type S. I actually prefer how the standard board feels. However, I barely ever use mine. And you're like, well, if you prefer it, why do you barely ever use it? Well, for work purposes, I bought the Type S. On my little story for people who are following that, like, I did eventually get it replaced, sort of. Like, it ended up being a thing where Amazon sold me a not legit keyboard. So I couldn't register it with Topre. Even though Amazon is a licensed seller and was back then, I somehow bought it from, like, I was sent a fake one. Like, I don't know if it's a third-party seller or something like that. Eventually got them to comp, because I'm like, hey, had I known this back then, and they're like, well, you should have brought it up to us back when you bought it, like within 30 days. I'm like, how do I know that it's not a legitimate keyboard with a registrable, warrantable serial number until I try and register and warranty it? Yeah. So I eventually got them to refund me, what was it? Not the cost of a new board, but the cost of, like, I paid back then or something like that. It was like a partial. Got me close enough. But, and I got to figure out on my work keyboard if it's the keycaps or the keys. Because the function key there is feeling mush again. I don't know about the escape key. But yeah, so that is why I use a Type S. I do have a standard one. That was the original hybrid I bought that I imported from Japan before the happy hacking keyboard. Like, they officially came to the US, and originally they didn't have their own shop, so they sold through Amazon. That's when I bought my Type S for work using money from you guys. Thank you. I had enough money saved up from affiliate sales that I could buy for work a Type S keyboard. So I did that. So I'm like, hey, I'm gonna finally have my own desk and finally be able to use all my own peripherals and not have to worry about other people touching them and what's gonna happen to them when I'm not there and that sort of stuff, right? You know, so I bought that. I'm not. I was gonna say I'm still using that keyboard to this day. No, I'm not, because it got warranted because of issues, and I had to fight a whole bunch of shit, right? But the new one is registered. I have the receipt, and it's already registered with Topre. So that's the one thing I'm gonna tell you. You guys buy yourself a happy hacking keyboard. I actually had to warranty this one right here, because the original keycaps, which are limited edition to the original Snow, it has this lettering style, which is the Mako S lettering style, which they switched to on the Snow on the Gen 2 when it came to the US. A lot of people don't like them. I actually prefer it. It's like the Helvetica or whatever. But on those limited edition keycaps, I realized when doing a video for you guys, I think it was, or when somebody was looking at photos I had taken, or I was reviewing photos I had taken, all my lettering was like offset. Like, these letters are supposed to be basically bang in the middle of the keys, right? And they were like 2/3 to one side, and it wasn't even consistent. So, like, the further you got away from center, the further off they were, if I recall correctly, or something like that. And because at the time it was a limited edition keyboard, they didn't have replacement keycaps, because I would have accepted just like, hey, find me a pair of keycaps that's not like that. And what was funny there is I actually got a lower serial number than my original keyboard was. when I got my warranted one. Which nothing was wrong with that keyboard. So yeah. What do we got here? We got our Dandelion, and these are the Wisteria. So they are pink. I'm fuck. Purple. I don't know if that's my dyslexia kicking in or not. But fuck, man. Gertrude's here. Hey, Gertrude. Let me zoom out the camera. Hey, Gertrude. Who's the granny kitty? But these are gonna get popped off, cleaned. I've been just cleaning them by hand with a tub of towel. Been working good. Then I can wipe down the whole keyboard with a tub of towel. Clean it up, and then these bad boys will go on there. And I may pull the Agar EC off my desk because it does take up, like with that mat, a little bit of awkward space. I love how that thing feels and types, though. I'm going to tell you guys, if you like your Topre, your Real Force boards, the EC switches are the real thing. They made it feel like a Topre switch. So whatever layout you have, keep an eye out. They're popping off. Especially because apparently people are figured out now how to make an EC capable, an EC switch capable PCB that is also hot swap with Cherry Max. I don't necessarily need that because I'm just going to take the EC switch and chuck it in there. I don't know why anybody would need that, because if you're buying an EC switch capable PCB, I mean, if anything, I think it's just easier for the, like if anything, if you're the EC person, you're paying for all that Cherry Max compatibility and all the hot swap sockets on the back and all that bullshit. It's better for you. But from a enthusiast keyboard part stocking place or company who wants to ship a whole different like array of, you know, if you want your Hall effect, your normal switches, your EC, you know, having, I just smacked you guys. Having one PCB is easier because then you just have to swap the switches on it. But for you, the end user, it really doesn't matter, because if you're buying, in my opinion, if you're buying an EC switch capable PCB, you should just be putting EC switches in there. Now, what I'm interested in is this the same Lavender? They call it Wisteria, but is it the same classic Lavender? Right? Let's go take a look. Over here on the repair PC is my OG hybrid. You can tell by its battery bump. I did swap that out with some, I was going to say Canon keys. That's not right. I can't remember the brand, but those are aftermarket ones. They're green on black, and that is like a dark green with the lime green lettering on the side there. That is probably my favorite colorway. Otherwise, I had the yellow with beige at work for the longest time until I swapped keyboards. And then in the meantime, I had picked, there were four colors of switches. I think one of them was like a red. But that's the only one I didn't get. And even though I only had two keyboards that I wanted to put these on there, I did buy that other set. And then when the Type S for work got swapped out, I did swap to the kind of like orange and dark gray theme. Really LTT or what is it? A DCS Carbon, I think it is, looking set. But yeah, this is and yes, I did buy. Normally I wouldn't have one of these if I didn't have a keyboard case, but because this is attached to that workstation down there that's actually running as a server, and Paisley would come over here and plunk her ass on top of this, and as you can see here, it can get quite dusty when I'm not using it that often. That's to be truthful what the keyboard covers are actually for, is that sort of thing. And back in the day, you would have that on your Model M because it's way more mechanical, and you're actually worried about, you know, needing to do maintenance on it if it gets dirty, dusty, that sort of stuff. I like them in my cases because then you don't squish the keys. And that's the US keyboard cover. We're probably going to see the Japanese one in a second here. Okay, so here's my case for the hybrid. bird case with the bird cover, right? And yes, you had those blocks to put in, and they just like double sticky tape glue down. That's because of the battery bump. This looks like an old school, like not even music instrument case, but like briefcase is too much too. You'd see a lot of like old electronics, like we're talking 70s, 80s in this style of case. I picked it up when I ordered it. Bird has a whole lineup of, like, they have that little plate too for your MacBook, so that you don't have to type on the MacBook keyboard. You can just put that plate on and put your Happy Hacking keyboard right on top of it. Yeah, that's what we're looking for. This is not my original Pro 2, but it's damn close. My original Pro 2 still lives on with a friend as his daily driver for work. Programming away every day. What's kind of cool is one of my coworkers, who's older than me, recognized the layout of the Happy Hacking keyboard right away. He's like, I remember using keyboards that size, back when we had terminals. I'm like, yeah, it's based on a Sun terminal layout. And he's like, oh, so that's going to be there. And I'm like, yup. So yes, I'm not crazy. Also, the people that are saying that controls in the wrong space on a Happy Hacking keyboard, being right there, that's where it is in the Model F. Okay? You want to know where caps lock was? It was like there. Or there was a shift. I don't remember on the F if it was a shift lock, but a lot of ones prior to that had a shift lock. Alright, so this is the OG official Happy Hacking keyboard case. You can see Happy Hacking Pro 2. It's got the blue accents and everything. This isn't even my original. I sold my original with the case and I had to rebuy this and everything. So here's the original cover. Just has these little black stops and these little foam guys. And my little foam guys have come off before. My old one too, and I actually ended up having to, like, on the previous one I think I used super glue. Don't do that because you'll discolor this acrylic. This is like proper acrylic. And you can see that it's not bent. There's a seam, like a cut. And they glued it really nicely. What's funny is they have this cutout in the corner. That's for the Happy Hacking keyboard logo. If you can see that there. But yeah, this is my OG Pro 2. Something else I've said before, and I've mentioned, every Pro 2 is a little tweaked. If you do not put your own feet on it, and in some cases I've had to double up feet because their original mold, or I don't know if it's their mold that's tweaked or the cooling of, because the case on these is PBT, not, or is it it might be ABS on here. Spacebar is ABS. All the rest of the keys are PBT. You can see this little cupping. You can see little circles in the middle too. That happens with the Happy Hacking keyboard keycaps because of the shrinkage you get with PBT. It's got way more shrinkage. But this chassis is warped out of the gate. So if you do not put other feet on it, it will tip. Tip, 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 tip. And then my original one, I had similar feet to what's on here. And I actually had to double up one of the sides. I forget. If you go back and you have to find some real old stuff on Desk Authority and Keycap, because this would have been before mechanical keyboards on Reddit was even started yet. I mean, that started by somebody getting booted out of Keycap. You'll see that even back then they were warped. It was kind of the thing I was talking about too with those are the R70XAs down there, but the original R70Xs is not uncommon to like squish them and make them a little wider. So when I do my R70X refines, I had no problem going in and squishing them. In this case too, it's just like people are like, well, how can a $300-something keyboard have this like issue, and it's just like a thing? And I'm like, it's just how it's made. It's how every one of them is. There we go. Lavender, WASD. See, it is different. Wisteria, Lavender. This is my OG. Oh, I got my coiled cable here because it took Mini B, guys. Remember, that's how old this product is. It takes a Mini B, not Micro B. Is this the Red Escape? Yeah, Red Escape. Just for context. There you go. So there's more blue in the Lavender versus the Wisteria. Here's the classic Red Escape Lavender Enter. See? I got a whole bunch. You get red WASD, red arrows. I think I am missing lavender arrows. I must have sold that or given that to somebody. We got a blank Red Escape. We got... I might have given it actually to the buddy who runs my old board, because he's like, oh, can I have like that set? And I didn't like care at the time. Yeah, so now I got arrows. And these red arrows are actually true arrows, whereas the arrows that were lavender arrows, if you notice, they're WASD with arrows for WSD, the ASD for gaming, right? So the original lavender arrows were actually just WASD keys without the lettering. Which means they weren't true arrows and weren't the correct profile. Whereas these arrows are true arrow keys. These WASD keys are true WASD keys. And then what do we got? We got Red Escape, 2 blank Red Escapes. Must have an extra of those. Surprised I haven't given that away to somebody if I have it extra. And then down here, this is what shipped with the original Type S, I want to say. It was a special product from Japan. And you got red Control and blue Escape. So it's all on the left side. I don't know what spawned this, but it was something to do with the OG Type S. I never had one of those. I think I ordered it when I ordered some of the accessories for my hybrid over here. My original hybrid that had to come from. And also this wrist rest, that's about the depth I like right there. Should be 4 1/4 inches if we can find a ruler up here. Five inches is too long. 2.5, which used to be the standard, ain't enough. Okay, this one's 4. I prefer 4 1/4. Let's see what this one that I custom made for my Happy Hacking keyboard is. There you go. 4 1/4. And actually, a lot of people ended up, you can see where my wrists are. They're not right on the edge. That size ended up being so popular that you can see this little lip here. That wasn't added. That was a design decision. But I have other ones where the maker of those wrist rests, he made them all 3.5, and they weren't selling. So he actually added like graft. He's like a master woodworker. I forget what the term for that is. And he would. This is like ebony and something. I have one that's actually like for tankuless boards. It's even nicer. It's like curly burled maple or something like that. But I have 2 other ones that he had actually originally made for other people that, or either made for his general stock, that he eventually extended to the 4 1/4. Some people wanted as far as 5 inches. I think that personally goes a little bit too far. The standard at the time, if you look back at wrist rest, was 2.5, and now we get happy when we get 3.5, like from Glorious. Here, this guy's 3.5, I believe. Or is it 4? Might be 4. So I'm actually pretty happy with the Glorious ones, because most other brands. 4, yes. So it's the Happy Hacking keyboard one that I use at work. That is a 3.5. And then what you have to do is, well, like imagine this is your keyboard, right? You can't butt it up against the keyboard. That's actually why this little pivot is in there, so it doesn't get pinched. You have to take it when it's only 3.5, and you actually have to move it that 1/2 inch away. You have to have a gap, and I got used to that at work. It's because then I can carry my wrist rest with me. This is actually for a mouse. I don't know why Glorious thought that was a good idea. I use it for my trackball. And what I plan to do at some point is lop it in half. Because it's too big width-wise. But and I can have 2. And if I put they have some really thick feet on it as well. If I put some thinner like E-grips on there, it'll be much lower, closer to the trackball site. But yeah, so the reason why we got out the old Pro 2 that doesn't see much use anymore is because I wanted to see if the OG Lavender was the same as this Wisteria, because a lot of these other colors have been the exact same as these like previous Real Force sets, and that was not the case. So I am going to, like I said, at some point, because I had yesterday off. Today we're gonna play some Call of Duty. I played some last night too, because the new one, the Black Ops 7 released. Excuse me. I'll be popping those off, cleaning them, putting them back in their box, and putting these on that guy, and probably that guy back over there, which I'll be a little sad because that Agar EC is beautiful to type on. And like I would actually have a custom wrist rest made specifically for that keyboard. That's how much I like it. So, questions, comments, throw them down below. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that keyboard history and a look into Happy Hacking keyboard sets. If you guys are interested in GameCube controllers, or even just custom controllers in general, hit that subscribe button, enable notify, and come and check out this handheld legend video that'll be popping up next. See you in the next one. Peace.